And welcome back again. Yours truly, Anthony Parker Alexander. And you are watching Keep It Honest. You have any questions or comments, you can email me at telephone numbers 216-702-3718, 216-702-3718. And you can also, excuse me, and this is live. We have a lot to do today. So you can also give me a call. The telephone number is 216-702-3718, 216-702-3718. And you know what I'd like to do, because I'm glad you're watching, you can email me too. And that address is 216-702, that's the telephone number. That address is 216, so many numbers. We have a lot to talk about today. That address, email address again is parkerman2011@gmail.com. Again, it's parkerman2011@gmail.com. I'm over here working the board while I'm talking to you, so that's why you see me going all over the place. We thank you, though, for watching the show. You ever have one of those days, man, where it takes a minute for you to get things together? Sometimes you just want to keep it simple, keep it honest, and keep it real. And sometimes you can, and sometimes you can't. But eventually it does work out. So this show today, it's about maybe people that didn't have good times. We're going to talk about the Titan submarine. We're going to talk about Trump and the latest things he's been bringing up as far as with the Bidens. We're going to go back with Clintons, all of them, lock them all up, lock up all the politicians, and the Bidens, the father and son, and Trump, and maybe even Obama. What the heck? Just get them all. But we're going to talk about some of that. Stay tuned for the show. But this episode today, we got a lot to deal with. And a lot of these are about people not having good times. And remember, even though sometimes we have bad times, we have good times. Good times. Anytime you make a payment, good times. Anytime you need a friend, good times. Anytime you're out from under, not getting hustled, not getting hustled. Keeping your head above water, making a wave, if you can. Temporary layoffs, good times. Easy credit ripoffs, good times. Scratching and surviving, good times. Hanging in and jiving, good times. Ain't we lucky we got them? Good times. So that was from the show Good Times back in the 1970s. And it's interesting, if you think about that show in the 70s, how people were trying to make it, what do you think about it now, many decades later? How much of the good times are still the same that they were back then that they are now? And unfortunately, like I said, we're going to talk about some people, and John Amos too. We're going to talk about how if he's had any good times and some of the things that's happened with him. So we've got Cornel West, John Amos, Clinton, Trump, the Bidens, and we're going to talk about the Titan. And if you're a person like me, we were all involved with that, the Titan. We didn't know these people. So I said to myself, well, you know what? Let's see if we can get to know these people a little bit. That's Stockton Rush. That's Hamish Hardy. That's Paul Henry Margaret. You go right here. And that's Solomon Dawood. That's the son. And Shahzadah Dawood. And these are the people that passed away in the Titans. So let's get to Know a little bit about them. So Stockton, right here. He was a British businessman. He founded OceanGate in 2009, and he served as the organization's CEO, overseeing the development of submarines that would be able to travel up to 20,000 feet below the ocean surface. This guy wasn't just a millionaire, he was really involved. In 1981, he became the youngest jet transport rated pilot in the world at the time of 19, flying to destinations such as Cairo, Mumbai, and Zurich. He received a bachelor's degree in aerospace engineering and decided to, put together this company. And at the end of the day, I guess he passed away doing what he wanted to do. Wow. So that's the owner, Stockton Rush. So Hamish Harding. Hamish Harding is right here. There you go. Right here. So he was a chairman of Action Aviation, an aviation sales and consulting company. He broke the Guinness Book World Records for the fastest flight around both the Earth's poles in 2019, in which Virtus was a crew member. He had additionally broken Guinness World Records for the longest duration at a full ocean depth by a crewed vessel and the longest distance traveled during the deepest part of the ocean. So he's done this before, Hamish. And unfortunately, he did what he liked to do too. And like people say, well, you know what, they passed away doing what they did best. So Paul's right here, okay? Paul's right there. And his name is Paul Henry Nagelus. So he was known as Mr. Titanic for his expertise of the ship. He spent 22 years in the French Navy, where he was eventually ranked commander. He was the director of underwater research. Man, he completed 37 dives. So he was underwater for 37 dives in a submersible to the Titanic shipwreck. So he went down 37 times to see the Titanic. So he was a professional. And again, one of those who passed away doing what he does best. Wow. So now this is the most tragic one of all. The father and son, right here. Solomon Dawood and Shahzada Dawood. So the 48 and 19-year-old were among the 5 that passed away. The family said, and this takes a lot for a family to say, in this unforgettable tragedy, we try to find solace in the enduring legacy of humility and humility that they have left behind, and find comfort in the belief that they passed on to the next leg of their spiritual journey, hand in hand, father and son. And supposedly they did die hand in hand, but how do we know this? So he obtained an undergraduate law degree from Buckingham University. And he eventually and additionally served on various boards, including the Institute, a NASA-funded nonprofit dedication to extraterrestrial research. Wow. So he was studying even aliens up above, or it could be underwater, because we just don't know. He is survived by his wife, Christine, and his daughter, Alina. So Solomon Dawood, 19 years old. And here's his sad story. He had recently completed his first year as a business major at the University of Strategy in Glasgow, Scotland. He was 19 and his father was 48. They were 2 of the 5 men, like I said, who died on the Titan. So the father was a British Pakistan billionaire, and his son, they died hand in hand in the catastrophic implosion of a sub that day. But how do we really know they died hand in hand? The family said the relationship between father and son was a joy to behold. They were each other's greatest supporters and cherished a shared passion for adventure and exploration of all the world had to offer them. And what better way to have a father and son do the things that they love to do? Wouldn't you like to have a son do the things you love to do? Maybe not that. The pair, when they got together, they both loved learning and were there for each other. They embodied valuable lessons on the pursuit of knowledge, exploration of the unknown, and bonds of family friendship. Family values are a guarding beacon for this family, and Shahzada always strives to emulate these, teaching his children to do the same. The university, for the young guy, said it was shocked and saddened by the tragedy. So his aunt and his father's older sister said that the student was terrified. He didn't want to go, but he went because he was supporting his dad. It was heart-wrenching to think of his final moments, she said. I'm thinking of Solomon, who was 19, in there, just perhaps gasping for breath. It's been gripping, to be honest, and crippling. She said she had lost touch with her brother in recent years, but was overwhelmed by grief when she heard of his death. He was my baby's brother, she said. I held him up when he was born. Wow. So that's the family. So the question is, as we saw that family, and they were a family of, well, you know what, you'd have to say they're a family of ocean people because they decided to go. You have to wonder, if you didn't have a leg in the game, would you take a submarine ride? What would it take for you to do a submarine ride? I don't think I would do that. I don't think I would not go up in the sky, and I would not go underground, or really to the deepest waters. And where they were at was only 2.5 miles. So you look at these people again. They took the chance on the Titanic to visit it. You wonder about the curse. So you think about this. Maybe a lot of people didn't know about them when it first happened, but then as the first day went on, and then the second day went on, and then the third day went on, and then the fourth day, we kept wondering, wow, are they going to be found? Some people probably got into the story after the first day. I know I only heard about it after the first day. And first, when they were missing, they said they had 96 hours of air. And then it went to 72 hours. And then it went to 48 hours. Then it went to 24 hours. Then it went to 12 hours. And people were really like, okay, well, it's going to take at least 3 hours to get down there. And he had 6 hours. And then he had 4 hours. So everybody in the world was wondering, how are these ships from across the world going to come there, which they're going to take hours. Then you got to put this stuff together. Then you got to go down there, 2.5 hours to get down there with maybe 3 hours left. And then how are they going to open up this submarine to get inside to save these people? And then, the government or the ocean company was saying, you know what, we think they have more than 96 hours. So when you were told you have 96 hours, or we were told you had 96 hours, and then after supposedly that last hour went by, and they were saying, well, maybe, they really conserved their air. So we hope that they would have been found. But you think about this. When they were found pretty much literally an hour and a half underneath from where they were at. So when it imploded, supposedly, they were only an hour and a half into this submersion. So for 4.5 or 4 days, we were wondering, well, where are they at? Are they surviving? Are they alive? But they were dead by at least an hour and 45 minutes into this trip. And what did we do through all that? We prayed. A lot of people prayed like they never have before. And it was interesting because it made you think, wow, they were found or weren't found. Do we feel like we lost prayers? Do we have less faith in God? Did it make us say, well, why do we grieve over these people we don't know? We cared about these people more than we care about ourselves sometimes, or other people. So there's this article. But it's okay. It's okay. You can care for people. That's good. It shows that we have a heart and we are a compassionate soul. So it's okay to grieve. How long does it take? For some people, it takes days. For some people, it takes years. For some people, we just never get over it. So here's the story, written by David Oliver in USA Today. The worst has come to pass. The 5 people who went missing in the Titan have died. This is a very sad time for the entire explorer community. The news has captivated the nation, so much so that these deaths are likely to feel personal. If you're feeling like you're grieving for people you don't know, it's a common enough phenomenon that there are terms for it: collective and public fear. And you think about this, collective and public fear. This is what people experience when they're grieving about not a family member, but maybe an artist like a Prince, or, meaning Prince the singer, or Michael Jackson, some of the people we have cared about, but we're not a part really of their family, but we care about them. So why do we get attached to strangers? One of the reasons we get attached to strangers is we look at them and we think they're never going to die. So when some of these people die, it surprises us. But everyone knew death with these people in this Titan. Everybody knew that it was a possibility, but we had hope. We believed that, if there's 1% of hope, well, then there's a good percentage. But you have to believe that. People began thinking about dying once this deep sea submarine story broke. They may not want to, but how could you not examine their own morality and mortality in a situation like this? How many people thought about dying? Do you think about dying when you hear about famous people dying? Well, you see that nobody can live forever in a lot of instances, and especially the ones that we see on TV, but you have people who are in their hundreds that are still alive and still working. So is it easier to discuss trauma when it's somebody not in their family, with people, co-workers or family and friends, because it's not something personal, but it's something that everybody knows? When you have grief, there's no limit to grief. It's not a cycle that comes and goes. Sometimes it's permanent. Sometimes it's like PTSD, where something may happen and it made you full of sadness, and you get over it, and something else happens again, and you feel about it. So some people say the Titan was an opportunity to discuss grief. Just because this grief doesn't match how one might grieve someone close to them, that doesn't make it any less real. It's fascinating that people wonder, well, how can we grieve for people we don't know? And it doesn't mean that we're going to grieve them like our spouse or mother, but we will grieve them because it's a story. And if you don't grieve something that somebody's going through, you don't have a heart. And we also live with the disappointment of, we always want to know if something had happened, would they have gotten saved? So for all of that time, again, that we were looking for them for almost 4.5 days, they were gone within an hour and a half. Wow. And how do you feel about that? Again, we pay tribute to them. The 5 people that Titan. Makes you think too, again, would you take a submarine ride? And if you notice, when you go on any kind of risk-taking adventure, they make you sign a clause that if, you're taking this ride or bungee jumping or whatever, you're liable to get injured or even die. So when you sign that paper, is it up to us to go and look for people if they get lost? Is it up for us to endanger our own lives, to risk our lives to save other people that may have known that they took a risk? When all those people came from across the world and were looking for the Titan, and they were trying to figure out how to go down and save them at their own peril, is that something they should have done? And then news-wise, who made the mistake as far as saying that they possibly still could be alive when they were dead within an hour and a half of the incident. Was that the media's fault? Um, was that anybody don't see their fault? With all the technology we have, nobody heard an explosion. There have been rumors out there that people waited hours to report that they were missing. We'll follow up on that and everything. But now, why should people go and try to bring up the debris if it was an implosion? And should they stop going in submarines and doing some of this thrill-seeking thing? Well, my take on it is, I've read, I think that, we should go down there and find out what happened, but be very, very careful. When we have all these rich people who are putting together, hey, you know what, I want to go to the moon. I can't get it government funded. Well, you know what? Then I'm going to do it myself. A lot of these rich people, they may have a lot of dollars, but they just don't have a lot of sense. Something to think about. So the thing about going underwater and still researching, getting the debris, and trying to find out what really happened is because underwater, which is really crazy, we've gone out in outer space a lot of times. We've had a lot of missions. So out of the missions, we have had close to 100. Going underwater, we haven't had even 1/10 of that. Going to the limit of the ocean is harder to find out what's happening down there, maybe 20%, than it is as far as going outer space. And would you go outer space or would you go down to the sea? At least you know to the sea there is a limit. But then as you found out, or as they found out, sometimes that limit will happen to you before you get down to the bottom. So how do we keep researching this? Should we have robots going down there? I think we should. The interesting thing why we still should find out about the ocean, we don't know what kind of life is there. It could be extraterrestrial, underneath in the water. I know for a fact that when people have gone down there and they've found different species and everything, some of those species they've used to help cure certain diseases. So you wonder if they hadn't gone under water, would they have, cured some of these diseases? And that's for another show. But would you take a submarine ride? That's deep. That's very deep. And should they continue? I think they should. And the irony of this Titanic is I think there's a curse. Okay? Ida and Isolde Strauss. This couple right here. If you've seen the movie The Titanic, in the one part of the movie, there's a scene where this couple, they gave up their seats on a lifeboat for two other people to get on there before the Titanic sunk. So these two are in the movie. This isn't them, but this is a dramatization of them in a movie. So the ironic thing is, Ida and Isolde Strauss, they died after she gave up, this is interesting, her spot in a lifeboat to stay with her husband on the sinking Titanic in 1912. And we will get back to a close-up. So their great-great-granddaughter, Wendy Rush, is married to Stockton Rush, the founder of this Titan. Wow. So he was married to Wendy Rush, the great-great-granddaughter of Isolde and Ida Strauss, who chose to remain on board the sinking Titan. They were the real-life inspiration behind this heartbreaking scene in this picture in James Cromwell's movie, in which the elderly couple gave up their life. So you look at this as we try to get a good picture. Is this a curse. So the lady of the rich man, her husband's dead, and she's a relative of somebody who's dead there too now. Wow. So now you see another reason why they probably decided to get involved and go underwater. But boy, she lost a great great relative years ago, and then she lost her husband and her son. Wow. So I think this is a curse. Why go see something? And why have the fascination? Because they said in about 20 years, the Titanic will be no more because it would have all rusted out and rusted away. Wow. You just never know. So would you take a submarine ride? I would not. And I'm just keeping it simple, keeping it honest, and keeping it real. Anthony Parker Alexander. And you know what? Before we go to our next story, make it real quick. The show was originally Keep It Real, but we had to change it because other people had the number and name Keep It Real. So I went to AI. People are doing that now. So here's what some of the other titles they wanted to give me. Authentic Conversations with Anthony Parker, Genuine Connections featuring Anthony Parker, Unfiltered with Anthony Parker, True to Life with Anthony Parker, Straight Talk with Anthony Parker, Real Talk featuring Anthony Parker, and The Authentic Perspective with Anthony Parker. So right now, we call it Keep It Honest with Anthony Parker. So we've had so many things happening over, the last month. Who would you like to see run for president? What about this? Well, I would say person, but this is Socks. So he didn't run for president, but he was under serious investigation. So let me tell you. So Socks, if you might remember, might not, he was the cat, the first cat with President Bill Clinton and Hillary. And Chelsea had adopted this cat. He was a lost kitten, but he enjoyed the things that most cats do, catnip and laying around and chilling in the White House. His best friend, some people, was Buddy the dog. So what was Socks' crime? For Indiana got Representative Dan Barton. And this is funny. Socks himself wasn't the issue. The problem was that people liked Socks so much in fact that they were sending him mail. And Burton wanted to know why taxpayers were fronting Socks postage. Because what would happen when people sent him mail because they liked him, people would write him back from the White House. So this is what Burton said. As a member of the new Committee on Government Reform and Oversight, I would like to inquire what the standard practice is for the White House to respond to mail directed to Socks, the cat. If it comes out of the White House mail budget, why are the taxpayers being made to pay for your felines fan club? Seemed a lot. He also suggested that the Clintons follow the president of Barbara Bush and what she did, which I like. She wrote a book from her dog, Millie, and then donated proceeds to pay for the cost of Millie's personal correspondence, because people liked Millie too. So Hillary Clinton, here we go, old Socks. She, in fact, put together a book of letters written to Socks and Buddy in 1998. However, proceeds from Dear Socks, Dear Buddy, they were donated to the National Park Foundation. So in the end, nothing happened to this. This is a story, but it was, to me, a fun story. So if you have any cats at home, and at the time, Bill and Hillary Clinton did, give them a hug. Because hopefully your cat is having more good times than Socks did. If you have any questions or comments, you can email yours truly at parkerman2011gmail.com, parkerman2011@gmail.com. Want to thank you too for supporting us. You can also give me a call, 216-702-3718, 216-702-3718. I'd like to thank all the sponsors, people supporting us over the time we've been on the air. And as we continue, we're going to talk about, because aren't you tired of some of this? Every politician out today has something going on. You have Trump. You have people trying to get rid of him. You talk about Teflon, he's Teflon. You've got Biden, who sometimes doesn't know where he is, and sometimes he does. We're going to talk about that on a later show. You've got his son. And I'm just going to tell you, his son and the charges that he had, anybody else with income tax for 2 years straight, he didn't pay him. A gun charge, didn't go to jail for that. He has been known, as everybody says, and even himself, he was under the influence of drugs for years, and he had a problem. He admitted that. My question is, when he was involved with a lot of high-stake politicians, and people say there was conspiracy, that he was doing things, that Joe Biden was doing things, Hillary Clinton was doing things, Bill Clinton was doing things. I don't think they had anything on Obama. And none of them went to jail. I have been told that people told me that when you're a politician, you're Teflon. So it will be funny that, and there's also been impeachment hearings on Biden. So it'd be interesting if Donald Trump goes to jail and Biden goes to jail, or both of them step down. And by next year, it may not be neither one of them running. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. Some people say, lock him up, lock Hillary up, lock Bill Clinton up, lock Joe Biden up. Well, we're going to see what happens. What about this guy? Do we lock him up? Cornel West. Man, he is a smart guy. He is the next person running for president of the United States. So this guy, Harvard professor and public intellectual, and he's mounting a third-party run for president. A supporter and confidant of Bernie Sanders during the Vermont Senator's 2016 and 2020 run. He's one of the leading Democratic Socialist activists of his generation. In these bleak times, I have decided to run for truth and justice, which takes the form of running for President of the United States as a candidate for the People's Party. I enter in a quest for truth. I enter in a quest for justice. And the presidency is just one vehicle to pursue that truth and justice that I've been trying to do my whole life. So he is one of the guys that is really one of the smartest people around. If he ever does a debate, which he's looking to do, he's going to make all the other candidates cry. And if you heard that, that's probably some of the candidates crying because they do not want to go up against this guy. This guy knows so much. He comes from a tradition where he cares about you, he says. I care about the quality of your life. I care about whether you have access to a job with a living wage, decent housing, women having control over their bodies, health for all. A supporter of Barack Obama during his first campaign, he soon emerged as one of the former president's harshest leftist critics. He frequently derided Obama's policies, including his embrace of Wall Street, drone warfare, and what West described as a lack of progress to mass incarceration. Wow. The reign of Obama did not produce the nightmare of Donald Trump, but it did contribute to it. And those Obama cheerleaders who refused to make him accountable bear some responsibility. Wow. After Biden's election in 2020, West, in an interview with the magazine, summed up his views of many socialists and left-wing activists. It looks as if we'll be wrestling with a neoliberal disaster, West said. That's another way of saying that the rot is there. It's just that with Biden, the rot proceeds much more slowly. Wow. So, makes you think he's the next person running for President of the United States. I always say, all you have to do is have somebody believe that you believe in what they believe, and they will vote for you. Real quick, starts off as 20 candidates, usually. Out of those 20, there may be one that you like. So then they go from 20 to 10. So that one candidate you wanted to win and that you really wanted to vote for, he didn't make it to that next 10. So it's like, okay, well, who's my second choice? So you pick one of those 10. Out of those 10, they go to 5. So you found out that candidate that you wanted to do second choice in 10 is in that top 5. So now it's top 5. All right, so it's your third choice. Out of the top 5, you want to pick one. And only 2 of those go. So you pick one, top 2, that one doesn't go. So it leaves you with 2 people. What do you do? Are you still enamored? This is your 4th choice. Is it the worst of 2 evils? Do you vote? Do you not vote? Are you satisfied? Because this is your 4th person. So election comes, he doesn't win. That was your fourth person. Or he wins. Is he your best candidate or is he your 4th best candidate? Wow. So that's why it takes a lot for people to run for office, because you have to be consistent and more people have to vote for that one that you want to come out on top. Speaking of coming out on top, in our last minutes left, good times. Anytime you meet a payment, good times. Anytime you need a friend, good times. Anytime you're out from under, good times. Not getting hustled, not getting hustled. Keeping your head above water, making a way when you can. Temporary layoffs, good times. Easy credit ripoffs, good times. Scratching and surviving, good times. Hanging in and jiving, good times. Ain't we lucky we got them? Good times. Wow, we know that song. We know that person. Yes, we do. John Amos, one of the greatest fathers on TV to me. So this story, hot topic now. His daughter, Shannon, she put out a GoFundMe account looking for money because she said her dad was on his last legs and really needed some help. So I'm going to read you the GoFundMe and what she wrote. November, my dad and I created a cherished video together. Little did we know the challenges that lay ahead. On May 14th, I received a distressing call from my dad, sharing that he was hospitalized in Memphis, Tennessee, in immense pain. Despite being out of the country, I arranged for help to reach him. ICU revealed his life hanging by a thread. The past 2 weeks shattered our world. My dad, a victim of elder abuse and financial exploitation. We are collaborating with the Colorado Bureau of Investigations and local authorities determined to bring the perpetrators to justice. Legal assistance is crucial to ensure that prosecution and protection my father's future so he has something. His home, stripped here and bare, necessitated a safe space for his return. This chief and cruel reality bewildered us, but we hold on to hope. Every donation will be directed to a trust for my dad's care, legal fees, and aftercare. Help us with this battle. Send love and kindle hope for this day that we can dance together again. Your support means the world as we navigate this darkness, united in the belief that justice and healing will prevail. If you would like to provide care and support for my dad, all donations are going to a trust fund that is best set up for him. The link is in my bio. Thank you for your love, prayers, care, positive energy, and support. Yeah, man, doesn't that make you cry? But let me tell you a little bit more about the story. So, Shannon Amos, the actor's daughter, she reportedly wrote in a GoFundMe solicitation that I just read about her 83-year-old father. He was fighting for his life. So, CBS Colorado reported that. TMZ, though, said that the fundraiser had a $500,000 goal. And as of that day, over 300 people have contributed more than $12,000. So it's interesting. As soon as I found that story, I went to the GoFundMe account. I collaborated with what they said. And I tried contacting John Amos's daughter a couple ways, through the GoFundMe account and then some other social media. When I went back to that page, it's gone. So Belinda Foster, she's the rep. She said that he was hospitalized to receive care for an accumulation of fluid in his lower extremities and abdomen. And they removed the fluid and he is doing okay in the hospital. The combination of his current hospitalization, unstable housing situation, and health challenges indicate a daunting road to recovery ahead. So he has said, no matter what, these are his exact words. He said to tell you thank you for reaching out. He really appreciates your support and he appreciates his fans and everyone that's concerned. He said he let everyone know he is with his son and he is okay. And they're going to share some more information at the appropriate time. So it's kind of interesting because what had happened in May, he was a guest speaker at the Memphis Health Center's Golden Anniversary Celebration. And during the event, Foster said, attendees in the medical field offered to give Amos a physical exam before he returned home to Colorado to get a standard checkup. He took them up on the offer, and that's when doctors discovered the fluid. So he said that he was really perplexed when he heard that his daughter had set up a GoFundMe account and demanded to speak with the media so he could set the record straight. I'll put it this way, she said. He himself is going to share some more information about some other things. He will definitely share more information shortly. So the Colorado police, since they are concerned about elder abuse, here are some of the things that they're looking into. Criminal neglect, assault, robbery, theft, caretaker neglect, sexual assault, and exploitation. Wow. Are these good times for John Amos? How did he get to the point where he's in the hospital? I still think he on TV was a great dad. We pray that everything is taken care of for him. And yours truly will try to follow up on that story. Speaking of following up on the story, our time is up. In a couple of minutes, we are about to end it because I said to myself, when I hear a baby cry, it's time to go. Maybe it's not good times for that baby, but it's good times for us. We're doing shorts now, short versions of the show. We're doing long versions of the show. You want to find out where we're at, just type in Keep It Honest. And you'll be able to get 10-minute versions of our show, a minute version of our show. We'd like to thank one of our sponsors, 23andUs, a clothing line. Again, as I always say, designed by my family. We decided to start a clothing line because it's all about us. All I want you to do is when you get it, and I'll demonstrate it for you one show, get online, type in 23andUs. We do hoodies, caps, all types of clothes, joggers, anything and everything with this slogan, 23andUs. So when you do order it, all I want you to do is when you open a box and say, oh my God, I'm surprised. Looks good. Put it on like this. Bam. 23andUs. Okay? Take a picture and say, hey, I'm Anthony, or put your name, and I'm a part of 23 and Us, the family. Stay tuned for some other stuff we'll be talking about with 23 and Us too. But like I always say, like Fast Five, Fast and Furious, it's all about the family. So when you watch our show and you support our show, you're part of our family. Let us know about things you'd like to see on the show. Hit like, share, and continue to support us. So, in closing, push yourself because no one else is going to do it for you. So, in those times where maybe you don't have good times, think of that song, Good Times, how they got it, do it, and push yourself because no one else is going to do it for you. We pray for the people in the Titan submarine. We pray for John Amos. We pray for the politicians more than ever. And we pray for you. In closing, keep your head up, never look down, always believe in yourself, and therein will lie your answer. I'm Anthony Parker Alexander, keeping it honest, and God bless.